Yo, if you just want some quick information, everything you see here is in the Google Sheet and it's linked down below, so you can skip the video. But if you stay, I'm gonna make this information a little more digestible. Let's go! MapleStory honestly has an overwhelming amount of dailies, and especially if you're a new player, you might not know which ones are worth your time. Let's go down the list of what I believe to be the most important dailies, starting with the most important. Arcane and Sacred Symbol dailies are by far the most important dailies in MapleStory. These symbols take so long to max out. You're given 6 symbols, one from each region in the Arcane River. You get the VJ symbol at level 200, the Choo Choo Island symbol at 210, Lachlan at 220, Arcana at 225, Moras at 230, and Esfera at 235. This system repeats itself at 260 plus with the sacred symbols, and you get each sacred symbol in the following areas. You get Cernium at 260, Hotel Arcus at 265, Odium at 270, and Shangri-La at 275, and Arteria at 280, and then Carcion at 285. And then Talahart starts the next set of symbols at 290. So we know where to get the symbols now, but why is it so important that we max them out? Well, first off, they give you a huge chunk of your main stat, which is a huge damage increase, but more importantly, the Arcane River symbols give you arcane power, and the sacred symbols give you sacred power. And this is how a lot of the bosses in this game are going to be time gated for you. As if you can see in this top corner, there's actually an arcane power requirement for a lot of the bosses. So for this boss, the requirement is on the right for 820, and the left is your current arcane power, which I have 1360. So if you have above the cap, you can actually deal increased damage to the boss. And if you have below the cap, then you will deal reduced damage to the boss. For Sacred Power, the system is similar, but it behaves a little differently. Instead of having tiered cutoffs like the Arcane Power did, where if you just hit a certain cutoff, you'll get to the next damage threshold, the Sacred Power is way more linear, where for every 1 authentic force below the requirement, you're going to have 1% final damage reduction, and it's capped at 95% damage reduction. And then for every 2 authentic force above the requirement, you get 1% increased final damage, which is capped at 25% increased final damage when you are 50 or more sacred power above the map's requirement. Now, I almost forgot to mention that all of these map requirements for Arcane Power and Sacred Power apply to all of the mobbing maps too. So you will deal increased damage or even like 0 damage if you're way below the power requirements. So that's important to keep in mind. If you're ever curious about what your current damage reduction is, you can mouse over it in the top left and it'll show you how much damage you're dealing increased and how much damage reduction you get if you are above the map's requirement. Urda's Request is the next most important daily. All it requires is that you kill 3,000 mobs that are in 260 plus maps. What this daily gives you is 600 Soul Urda energy and 12 fragments. So these are the materials used to upgrade your 6-job skills, which is where a huge portion of your damage is going to come from once you're 260 plus. It's a very simple and straightforward daily, and completing it continuously, consistently is going to net you a lot of damage in the long run. There are constantly events running in MapleStory, as with many MMOs, and in MapleStory they require you to do daily check-ins, some form. Either you can just click to check in without any requirements, or like Victoria Cup that I'm showing right here, you have to kill about 1,000 mobs and then you can click check-in. These events give a lot of helpful rewards, especially for more early game players. So don't forget to do your check-ins because they can boost your progression. Monster Park is another important daily as it gives a huge chunk of XP, and you can run it 7 times per day. You get 1 free run, and then if you go into the cash shop, you can buy an additional entry ticket for 7 mil mesos each. You can buy up to 6. So 7 runs a day. It gives a lot of XP, especially in the lower levels, like the early 200s. And it will give you a box, and the box can be opened, which gives you Monster Park coins, which is another one of the main parts of Monster Park. If you use those coins, you can go to the shop and you can buy a green pot, which increases your attack speed, a red pot or a blue pot, which increases your attack damage or magic attack damage respectively, and a gold pot, which increases XP gained. So all of these potions are very helpful potions that you're going to be using. You're going to constantly need these, so running it daily is going to be very effective for you to stack up on these coins. Beyond Monster Park, there's also Monster Park Extreme, which starts at level 260. And as of June 11th, this Monster Park Extreme is going to be switched to once a week instead of a daily. And you're going to be able to do it on 2 characters, 260 plus per week. MapleStory is pretty similar to Monster Park in the sense that you're just clearing stages, but instead of EXP, this is focused on giving you mesos. You get 2 free clears per day, so 14 clears per week. And it depends on what your current level is for how much mesos you get. For me, at level 263, I'm getting about 24 mil per run. So almost 50 mil per day, which is a lot of money that can stack up. You can claim the money at the end of the week. If you claim it early, then it's actually going to be cut in half. So just be patient, do your 2 runs per day, and you can get a big payout at the end of every week. Now, as for daily bosses, there are 3 that I think are essential and 1 optional one if you have extra time. These are going to be Golix, Arcarium, Ursus, and normal Pink Bean. Golix is definitely the most important out of these daily bosses because you need to collect coins to get the superior Golix accessory set, which takes on average about 2 months to get the full set. So you're going to want to start this boss as soon as you can, and you'd want to start even if you can only do hard lucks, then you need to start clearing it daily from hard and beyond. Once you can start clearing Helix, you'll be getting more coins per day, so it'll just speed up your progression a little more. There's going to be a guide linked in the Google Sheet that I posted in the description below if you're confused about how Helix works or how to get to the different difficulties. That should help you out. Arcarium is the next most important daily boss because he can drop Dominator pendants. And this pendant is going to be essential all throughout your career as a Mapler because you can transfer it into better gear, like you can use it for the superior pendant transfer. You can do Dominator 2 superior to Source of Suffering, but it has a really low drop rate, so you're going to need to do this daily, and hopefully you can collect a few spares before a Star Forcing event. Next up is Ursus, and this is going to be basically just for mesos. And there's a 2 times like a golden time that happens every day, happens twice a day. That's when everyone is going to be queuing. You can queue like I'm showing right now, and you can party with 18 people, which you'll probably do early game. But once you're strong enough, you can actually create your own party and go in by yourself. And as long as you deal 5% of Ursus's health, then you can get the maximum rewards that you would have done if you cleared with a full party. So once you're strong enough, it's way faster. Just create your own party, make sure you deal 5% of his health, and you're good to just die and the run will end. And also you can run this 3 times a day, and you cannot use anything 5th job or 6th job. You can only use 4th job and below skills, so keep that in mind. But this is going to be a good chunk of mesos. It'll be somewhere around like 100 mil, maybe 90 to 100, and it will be a very, very good source, especially early game for mesos. So no offense to Pink Bean, but this is definitely the least important daily boss to have on this list. This is more of if you have extra time, you can run it. Normal Pink Bean can actually drop the Pink Bean Holy Cup, the Pink Clover Belt, and even has a chance to drop the Black Bean Mark, which I didn't even realize. But it's a very low drop, but it's a very short boss to kill, so if you have time, might as well run it. Now for a couple of optional dailies. The first one is honestly kind of an important daily. It's Threads of Fate. So the reason that I'm saying it's optional is that some people don't like the setup that's required and end up just skipping it altogether. But I do actually recommend that you do Threads of Fate. There's a bit of a quest line you gotta do to set it up. It takes a couple of days of RNG guessing until you can get the correct ask that you need. But once it's set up, all you're gonna need to do is just log in, click ask on the quest UI, and wait for 30 minutes. And you can't change channel or swap characters for those 30 minutes, and then it'll be completed. And you can do that quest 5 times per day. And every time you complete it, you'll get a bunch of crafting materials, and these crafting materials are used for making WAPs, or wealth acquisition potions. And these are important potions that give you increased drop rate, and it's very important for when you're farming, and you can get increased node stones, increased fragments, and increased soul urda energy, so it'll boost both your 5th and 6th job advancements. The next optional daily is Commercy. Now, Commercy is both a party quest, and there's like an individual component to it. And you can get up to, I believe it's 50 dineros per day, which is the currency that you're going to use to both transpose and to buy some Sweetwater equipment. The main thing that comes from Commercy is Sweetwater Tattoo, which you can transpose a Populatus mark into it to get a pretty solid equipment out of it. Beyond just that, for dual blades, the best in slot weapon actually comes from Sweetwater Katara, and you need to get your Fafnir Katara to 16 stars and transpose it into the Sweetwater Katara, and that's how you create your best in slot secondary. Now, Dookie actually just put out a video talking about everything to do with Commercy, and that is once again going to be linked in the Google Sheet that's in the description. Now, last but not least is going to be Phantom Forest. Now, this is going to be mostly for Nightwalkers and Night Lords, as this is how you get your best in slot throwing stars: Balanced Fury and Crystal Ilbes. Crystal Ilbes has 1 less attack than Balanced Furies, but some people prefer it due to nostalgia, aesthetics, or whatever else reason. So both of them come from this daily. It's kind of annoying because the area that you have to do your quest in is very strange. You can't use the map there, and it's hard to get to the map that you actually want to get to. So there's a bunch of infographics linked in the Google Sheet, and it's what I used when I did it because I'm a Night Lord. I had to do this, and it helped me a lot. So if you use the infographics, you can get the Crystal Ilbes in about 10 days of this daily, or if you want the Balanced Furies, then you're gonna have to do it for 12 days. Now, when you're accepting these quests, make sure you only accept the ones that are labeled wanted. You don't need to do the ones that say Elite Hunt. You don't need to do those. You only need the silver coin currency to get the throwing stars. Now, Phantom Forest is also useful for people that just want cool equipment that you can anvil over your current equipment, which is like MapleStory's transmog system. And that's going to be it for all the optional dailies. But before I go, I almost forgot to mention about the planner system. So with the planner, you can set up which boss content you want to show up, which daily quests you want to show up, even which weekly quests you want to show up. For the daily quests, you can even accept all of them directly from the planner all at once instead of having to go through the light bulb and click accept on each one individually. Those quests are mostly for like the Arcane River kind of quests. It will remind you to do Monster Park Extreme, Maple Tour, all of your normal daily quests. But things like Phantom Forest doesn't show up here, so you're gonna have to remember those ones on your own. But that's gonna be it. Hopefully you learned something, and happy mapling!